you heard that scientists have been releasing genetically modified mosquitoes into the wild? The Centers for Disease Control says in a report that they modify large quantities of male eggs so their children die before adulthood and glow under red light. It's supposed to reduce the mosquito population and allow the scientists to identify them in nature. Do you think that genetically modified mosquitoes will bring more benefit or harm to us?
Yeah, I've heard about it. They release only the males because they don't bite people and only pollinate plants, so those mosquitoes can't spread disease. I don't think it's right though, and it's something that scientists shouldn't do. Messing with nature can lead to unexpected consequences, and we don't know how it will affect us in the long run.
But they can do a lot of good for us. For example, Helen Albert wrote that the release of the eggs suppressed the population of the Aedes aegypti, one of the more notorious mosquitoes, by 95% in regions they tested for over 13 weeks in Brazil. That is a huge accomplishment, as it is an uncountable number of human lives saved by curbing the spread of diseases such as Zika, yellow fever, and dengue in those 4 months. Many families were free from worrying about their children getting sick and having to deal with what possibly could be their death as they wait in long medical lines.
But after releasing over tens of millions of mosquitoes, the experiments have run into unexpected problems. Yale PhD Benjamin Evans talks about how after a year and a half, the program starts to break down as there is mating discrimination against OX513A males. The females can tell which mosquitoes are good and which are bad for mating, and it reduces the efficacy of the modified mosquitoes. We don't know if the females will stop recognizing the sterile males over a significant amount of time. Not only that, without constant human intervention, the population returns back to normal. The modified mosquitoes aren't able to produce more sterilized mosquitoes. What happens if children of the mosquitoes survive to adulthood? Will they become just will they continue to just breed Brazilian mosquitoes?
Oxitec, the company creating these mosquitoes, addresses this in a statement, saying that even though a small portion, only about 3 to 5%, of the OX513A mosquitoes can survive, they'll keep spreading the infertility gene onto their offspring until they fizzle out. The modified mosquitoes would stop existing after a while, so the risk they pose is very minimal. However, we do need to do more testing in regions where older experiments were finished to know if it is still effective in those places. It is a new thing that we've recently started, and it has gained more momentum in recent years. There's also the Wolbachia bacteria that we could start using, and it would give us a second way of controlling the population.
The National Bureau of Agriculturally Imported Insects says that the Wolbachia bacteria can survive in mosquito populations and reduce adult lifespan and affect mosquito reproduction. So initially, yes, it would reduce the population of mosquitoes in an area and give us a backup option. But what happens if these mosquitoes evolve to be able to resist the bacteria and become some sort of super mosquito? Won't this method become redundant?
Well, beyond population control, it also gives us a second advantage that the sterile mosquitoes don't give us. We use them because the NBAII also tells that the bacteria inhibit virus replication of diseases such as dengue. The bacteria could become a key part in helping us combat these diseases as a way to stop the mosquitoes from becoming vectors in the first place. If these scientists implemented the bacteria with the sterile mosquitoes, the reduced population and inability for the surviving mosquitoes to spread the bacteria could stop us from getting these diseases for a while. Over the course of a few years, we could eliminate millions of cases of incurable diseases, keeping families and communities safe. People can sleep safe at night without the worry of waking up sick.
A big question is how sustainable it will be financially. There was a report made by GeneWatch UK on the budgeting of Oxytex mosquitoes, and the cost adds up quickly. The facility itself can cost upwards of 26 million, with an average cost of 800 million per bugs, per $800 per million bugs. However, even though it may only cost 800 to produce a million mosquitoes, a release of only 300,000 mosquitoes cost Panama over $600,000, with additional costs included. This does not account for the other programs such as non-chemical mosquito control, surveying, and disease prevention.
Even though the price does add up, a government program to help its citizens would be well received. I read a scientific journal by Helen Mendez, and in the 2012 release of mosquitoes in Brazil, the scientists got a 90% acceptance from the residents after they gave an explanation of the program and revealed how it was meant to save the people. Even though there may be more mosquitoes in the area, they won't bite the residents as they're male. These people understand that the oxytec by These people understand that by allowing Oxitec to do their experiment, it could save the lives of hundreds of residents and children.
But in other regions, it is not as well received. Take Florida Keys, for example. Emily Waltz from Nature shows the strong emotions residents in the U.S. have against it, as they are at less risk of these diseases as people from Brazil. 240,000 residents from Florida have signed a petition against the release of these mosquitoes and have threatened to jeopardize the experiments by spraying insecticide in the area of mosquito release. To quote the official petition on change.org, they do not consent to being a human experiment, and we do not want GMO mosquitoes. They fear the unknown consequences on the ecosystem and don't fully understand how dangerous mosquitoes can be. Even though Aedes aegypti is an invasive species in Florida, the last reported case of Zika was in 2017 in the US. On the other hand, in 2020, Brazil reported approximately 19,000 cases within the Pan American Health Organization. It makes sense it would be released in Brazil, but why Florida? It feels unnecessary.
Does it work as a good preventative measure, though? Even though it may only last for up to 18 months or so, in those 18 months, it could have stopped the potential case that would have gone unreported. It also works as a way to get rid of an unnecessary species that could one day start spreading disease if travelers bring Zika or yellow fever into the region. The preventative measure would be especially effective if they combine the two methods above, as they did in China. Guglielmi from Nature tells of how by combining the two methods of bacteria and sterilized mosquitoes, 94% of the Aedes aegypti population was eradicated on the two islands. They hope by using other methods, such as pesticides and destroying habitats in trash and non-nature homes, it will destroy the invasive species altogether.
An issue with this method is that other dangerous types of Aedes mosquitoes are allowed to roam free. In looking at the effectiveness of the methods, only the target species is ever affected. Other species, such as the Aedes albopictus, roam, roam free, spreading West Nile and Encephalitis. Also, the species may be reintroduced into the region the same way it first got to those Chinese islands, through boats and other modes of human transportation. If, hypothetically, we were able to kill 100% of them off, that what would do for the boats that travel to those regions?
There is a possibility that they could be reintroduced and become an invasive species again. However, more research would need to be done for us to know that, and if it is still effective in regions where previous experiments have happened. We also still need to look into other aspects of genetically modified mosquitoes, such as what the people from different parts of the world think, seeing how the cost of this changes over time, and if it is sustainable for a long period of time and more.
Agreed.